The movie Vazhakku in 18/9, it means docket number or case number or argument number 18/9, is the name of a movie directed by Balaji Shaktivel. Now, you know, he was the man who gave you Kadal, which was a path-breaking movie many years ago. And then he also did Kalluri, which then pitchforked Tamanna into stardom. And so he's an extraordinary filmmaker. Just 2 movies old, but created a huge impression. So now here he comes with his third movie. And this is a movie where he sticks to the same social strata that he likes to deal with. Working class people, ordinary, average people, rather than just stories about super rich guys driving fast cars and all that. But he concentrates on stories about real people. And here he's got a story which starts with what appears to be looking through the eyes of a girl who's had acid poured on her face. So she's disfigured, but she can see through her one operating eye, and then she starts to recount what happens. And then a boy is brought in for questioning into a police station. And from there, the boy starts to relate what has happened thus far. So it's all through the voice and the words of a young boy. Now, he's from a small town in Tamil Nadu, as usual, poverty-stricken village, and his father is in debt to a moneylender who insists that he must get the money. He's willing to give away his kidneys if necessary. But then the little boy comes forward, like more young boys should come forward to tell their parents, listen, I'll take care of you. So he goes, he says, I'll go work. So his father sends him off to a Murka factory somewhere in Karnataka, it looks like. And he works there, and of course the torturous life of a young kid working in virtually like a prisoner is shown in it. But okay, we have seen so much of that, but that doesn't really make you feel that, hey, here's something different. But he finishes his tenure, and in the meanwhile, the owner of the factory doesn't tell him that his parents have passed away. Out of sheer poverty and malnutrition, they die. But he chooses not to let this young boy know that his parents have died, because he feels that if I tell him, he'll pack up his bags and he'll take off. Now what will I do? So finally he finds out, and he's so angry, he picks up this vat of boiling oil and he wants to pour it over that guy's head. But he restrains himself and he leaves and he comes to Chennai. And there he starts a new life. He's about 18, 19 years old. He could be any one of those kids you've seen walking on the street in any of our towns. It's absolutely spot on casting. That boy is so perfect in his role. They even stained his teeth. You know how that little malnutrition mark. People keep thinking that they don't brush their teeth, or it's like they need to go to a dentist and get it clean. No, that teeth yellowing or orange thing that comes on it comes out of malnutrition. Anyway, this guy is helped by the typical prostitute with a heart of gold, though he's not shown as a woman with a heart of gold, but she helps him, gets him a job, and he starts working it's a roadside eatery. You know, those people who make idlis. We see them all over the place. But he lives there, and then he comes across this young girl who's a maidservant. So the maidservant works this girl works in the house of another young girl, her age. But that one is richer, goes to fancy schools, got smart uniforms, they've got kids with mobile phones, you know, another generation, far removed from this working class girl. But the main character, this young lad, he falls in love with this maidservant girl, and he's always dreaming, getting married, and he's gone ahead in his imagination. But reality comes in the form of a case of this girl who gets acid on her face. And who's that girl? The same maidservant. And how does she get it? Okay, that forms the story. It's a recounting of truly horror stories of how young people are treated and how our own people are treated, whether by politicians or by ourselves, you know, our neighbors. We don't even think about them. For example, in the old days we had houses, bungalows, where if somebody wanted to sleep overnight, you could just say, okay, go sleep on the veranda. Now there are no verandas, there are no driveways, there are no garages, there are no outhouses, there's nothing. So modern day living has made it 10,000 times more difficult for poor people. Even if somebody wants to help them, there's no way. So the only one who can help them is Sarkar, the government. So the government has to set up places for these people to be able to live their life in dignity. Forget about dignity, just live it. But if the Balaji Shaktivel has taken a long time casting, spot on. I'm not going to tell you the name of the actors, actresses. There's so many characters in it, I don't know who they all were. But every one of them did their job faithfully and correctly. Nobody was overdoing it. Neither the rich girl nor the poor girl. They all played their part. The poor prostitute, and there's a richer prostitute who poses as not poses, she is the correspondent of a school. So she's like a high class prostitute. Her life, this one life, all cast perfectly, all know what they're supposed to do. So a movie like this, the government ought to take it over, at least telecast rights, or maybe projection rights in schools. Because you got to catch our youngsters when they're in the 7th and 8th standard. Make them see these movies. It will it'll touch them where it matters, because it's an exact depiction of their life. What happens between kids in school, how are they getting corrupted, both morally as well as, they go into crime with very little provocation. So it's a movie that addresses all these problems. And most of all, it's a damning revelation on the way our police work. And I can't say that what Balaji has shown in this movie is a highly fictionalized version of how policemen behave. They actually do behave like that. And when you look at that policeman cast in this movie, you will say, I've seen this man, in the police escort, the police patrol car around my corner. I've seen him often. He's so authentic, pakka casting, and he behaves exactly as they always do. We can't always say all of them are criminal, but at some point they seem to overlook how other people get affected by their random acts. So they just send a boy to jail. It's okay, you go confess to a crime. I'll make sure that they pay you some money, and that money will fix the girl's face. That's a deal he makes with this young boy, only to betray him. And of course, the final answer he gets is heartwarming in the sense it's a cruel act in itself, but at least makes you feel, okay, there is some justice in the world, and that wicked people will be punished. So Balaji Shaktivel gives you a movie where you have enough to think about, and as I said, they ought to show it more often. People might get a little numbed with so much of pain and cruelty, but there are lots of lighter moments in the movie, so it is not a depressing movie and ought to be shown. And full marks to Balaji Shaktivel for doing it. The camera by somebody called Vijay Milton. He's almost like he's attached the camera to his eyes and he just walked through the town and seeing things exactly as they are. Just outstanding work. And there's a good background score, which is so good that you don't even realize it's there. Prasanna is the guitar player who's done the music for this. It's it just supports the action on the screen. So Vazhakku in 18/9, outstanding movie.